Amazon on Captain TV coming from Lagos. Hope you have been enjoying the program so far. Yes, especially last week's episode. Yes, today promises to be great as usual as I have a very special guest on the interview segment. So call your friends, call everybody and let them know that it's about to get started. Welcome on board. I am Tosin Adeyemi. The kind of woman we see today is that kind of woman who is ready to take up responsibility and sacrifice a lot of things to make sure that she influences and impacts our community. What kind of a woman are you? So today my guest is a very special personality. She's the kind of a woman we can call, yes, the woman of today, the kind of woman that we can say she is a mentor, a role model, someone to look up to, an inspiration, especially to girl child, to women, even men as well. So today she'll be sharing her story with us. I won't be telling you my guest now, don't worry, just join me on the interview segment. Welcome to the interview segment. Yes, just as I told you on the introduction part, I said my guest for today is a very special personality, and she's a mentor, she's a role model to lots of people, and especially to me, known and unknown mentees. Yes, so my guest for today is a living legend, a quintessential woman, a woman of substance, a woman you can call a woman. Definition of a complete woman. And people say there is no complete woman. Yeah, in some cases, there are some women that you look up to and you say, no, this person, let's give it to her. So, permit me to welcome my guest for today, Madam Ajoke Silva. Drum rolls. So nice to have you.
I love that drum roll. Hello, Tosin. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us as well. It's a pleasure. All right, you're looking so radiant. What is it? You don't want to age again. I don't understand. Like looking at both of us, we are like mates, like no difference. What's the secret first?
Probably the hair.
Apart from the hair, I know what I'm saying.
And then the makeup, by my makeup artist. God's grace, really. God's grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so let's start from your childhood. How would you describe your childhood? Because a lot of people see you like, oh, Madam Ajoke Silva. We want to hear a story. So this is Madam Ajoke Silva here. Let's hear your story. Describe your childhood. How would you describe it?
My childhood, in retrospect, was good. It was a good childhood. First daughter of the late Chief Emmanuel Afolabi Silva, the Bobajiro of Lagos.
Okay.
And late Dr. Bimbola Silva, who was a medical doctor. And so growing up was pretty idyllic, grew up very communal, we used to have members of the family come to our home. We'd play badminton in the garden. And of course there was quite a bit of traveling to places like Osogbo and Ibadan to see my maternal grandfather.
Okay.
Who, I mean, Ibadan was because he was ill, but Osogbo because that was where he lived for many years before he now came to join his children in Lagos. He was a bishop and had worked in the Cathedral Church of Christ, and a lawyer, and he did several years in Ondo, traveled around as a bishop of the Anglican Church, Bishop S.C. Phillips of the Anglican Church. And then, kind of settled down in Osogbo. So there was traveling to Osogbo, to places outside of Lagos. I went to several schools. My primary school was, I first of all started out, nursery school was IWS Day Nursery, which is still in Yaba.
Okay.
IWST nursery. Then I went to did a stint at the Anglican Primary School, which was on Broad Street at the time. Just did a stint there before I then moved to St. Xavier's School, Ikoyi. From St. Xavier's went to Holy Child, where, to be honest, yes, I have quite a lot of friends from St. Xavier's till today.
I still keep them.
Yes, we're still friends till today.
Wow, that's good.
I also have, and going to St. Xavier's in those days, it was St. Xavier's Holy Child. A lot of times you were taking buses, numbered buses, red buses, numbered, and that would take you from either it was first Bodilon or second Bodilon to, or you walked. You walked home, with friends. You walked to their house.
And you won't even feel it.
Yeah.
With joy.
You
chatting and...
You've got it, And I remember sometimes when my mother traveled, we'd go take a bus from Obalende to where my aunt was staying in Yaba. There was, I think it was number 79 or something, or 72. I used to, in those days, numbered everything, So there was Holy Child, and then from Holy Child, I went to the Webber Douglas Academy I went to Wentworth Milton Mount to do my A-levels. And then from Wentworth, took a year out. Working in this profession that that I insisted to my parents that that's where I wanted to work. So did a stint at the University of Lagos Cultural Center. Did a lot of work, some work with the NTA, did some work at the National Theatre, acting work, and then went to study drama at the Webber Douglas Academy of Dramatic Arts. Came back home, got married, and then after my second, with my second child, I just had him at the time, went to register at the University of Lagos and studied English. I did a degree in English. Several years later, went to Faith Foundation and did a short course in business and entrepreneurship. Yes, and that's educational background, everything in a nutshell.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, before we move to the acting part of it,
yes.
While growing up, who had the major influence on you? While growing up,
my parents, definitely.
the both of them.
Yes, my mom and my dad. Both of them were a great influence. Both of them were very interesting, and in the sense that they were strict and they were not strict. I had a lot of latitude, but I also knew where the barriers were. I remember once, we used to have this event in St. Xavier's called Guy Fawkes Night, which was a celebration of what happened in England with Guy Fawkes. So there's always a night in November, I think it's 5th of November, if my memory serves me right, where they'll burn, there's a huge bonfire and, there are fireworks and things like that, but there's a bonfire of a guy, And it was almost like a fun fair. It was, it was a fun day. And I remember then I asked my mom for money for the gate because it was always ticketed.
Gate pass.
Yes, and my mom gave me, I can't even remember how much she gave me at the time. And I looked at this money and I said, by the time I bought gate tickets, what am I supposed to do? There's hardly any money left to do anything. The way I got a backhand.
Kai.
That backhand like this.
Back to factory setting.
Do you understand? You don't even say thank you first for the one that you've been given.
Yes, at least.
Yeah, at least say thank you for the one you've been given before you now start saying it's not enough. That's how I didn't go.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the same woman that we would sit down together and have discussions and so or there was another time I think I just thought all this discipline, everything. I'm really fed up of this house. I'm going.
Going where?
I had this suitcase, blue and black. I remember one of these portmanteau. I packed it and I walked out And I got, and my mom said, bye.
Okay.
I got to the gate.
And I'm like, where am I heading? No destination.
Nobody. No, the idea was they were supposed to call me back.
So you were disappointed that they didn't call you back.
Totally. But and she always used to remember that and have a good laugh. So there was a lot of discipline, but it was loving discipline, I must confess, in retrospect. You know. And then I would say that late Uncle Steve Rhodes was also a very big influence. Uncle Steve Rhodes, because I started, myself and a group of friends were part of those who were the original intermediate voices of the Steve Rhodes voices. They had the junior voices, they had the senior voices, and then we were the intermediate. We were in secondary school, and you know, for me, the impact was the discipline as a performer. Discipline as a performer, and also watching him. You know, with Uncle Steve, you could never come late to rehearsals. There was no excuse. Rehearsals, you agreed on a time for rehearsals, and then you come, let's say the agreed time for rehearsal is 4 o'clock, and then you come at 5:30. No, actually, with Uncle Steve, it was even worse. Rehearsals are 4 o'clock, and you come at 10 minutes past 4. They'll look at you and you say, oh, I left home on time. Okay, what time did you leave home? I left home at 3. You shouldn't have taken. He said, okay, knowing that there could likely be traffic, and why didn't you leave home at 2:30? Why didn't you leave home at 2? You know, there was just never any excuse. And it wasn't only for us performers. That was another thing that, you know, I'd love to introduce again as a producer, because Uncle Steve, we're performing at that time. We did a lot of performances at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, and I remember that Uncle Steve would close the gate. If a lot of times concerts were at 7 in the evening, by 10 minutes to 7, Uncle Steve had closed the gate, because he was going to start bang on 7. He didn't care who was in the audience. And so by the time people arrived, they were waiting until we had an intermission. We always used to have an intermission, probably about 1 hour into the program. And you have bought your tickets, so you're not coming for free. You bought your tickets before, you know? And so what that did was that the audiences were always already sad. Way before the show started, you know, and that has got, you know, that has been a huge influence on me, and I've carried that kind of discipline into my professional life here.
Discipline, I love that. I think discipline is one thing that is kind of lacking in this generation. If you look at it closely, discipline is really, really missing. Or don't you think so?
Well, I really need to understand where you're saying that the discipline.
Yeah, discipline when it comes to training a child. Is really missing, because I must say the way the discipline were during your own time, if we bring that back to this generation, there might be serious crisis.
Well, I think one of the things that the Bible does talk about is spare the rod and spoil the child. All right, when you spare the rod, then the child will be is likely to be undisciplined. So I think sometimes we overcopy things that we hear from the West, and then realize to our detriment that it doesn't necessarily work for us, what they're doing. Because I do not subscribe to this speaking to a child to make that child do things, because sometimes the child does not understand even the language that you're speaking. You don't have to be abusive or brutal in using the rod. 2 fingers is enough sometimes
Yeah.
to say, no, don't. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You know, because that child really doesn't have an understanding of his environment, and your job is to be a protector. That's why you are the adult. That is why you are the authority figure. And so there needs to be that, you know, checks and balances. You know, you cannot give authority to somebody who doesn't understand what authority is.
Sure.
They will mess it up.
Yeah, sure. Okay, now looking back now, what are you mostly grateful for?
Oh, a lot. A lot. First of all, grateful for the kind of family that the Lord gave me, that I was that I was born into. You know, my parents, my siblings, you know, my extended family. I have an amazing extended family. You know, and then my own nuclear family. You know, my husband, my children. The fact that you know, God has made it possible for me to work in a profession that I love. Incredibly frustrating. It's an incredibly frustrating job, and you know, and you find that it's actually a pretty difficult job all over the world. But it is also so fulfilling. You know, that ability to be able to morph into a character and experience another kind of life from the life that you are living. I love it. I'm so grateful for it. You know, I'm grateful for my children, for the kind of young men that they are turning out to be, and the extended children that the Lord has given me. I have so many of them. You know, I can just go on and on and on and on, you know. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about one more thing before we move to your career now.
Yes.
I'm very sure that okay, there is it even an adage or a saying or whatsoever that a good fruit will definitely produce a good tree will produce a good fruit. So I want to ask one more question about your mom. What's that trait? What's that thing you got from your mom or your dad that you're living with and has been helping you thus far?
I think one of them would be a very good work ethic. My mom and all my mothers, because you know, my mom traveled a lot, and so I grew up with several moms. You know, whenever she traveled, I'd either be with the Oladapos, late Mrs. Oladapo and her family, or with my mom's elder sister, late Mrs. Busola Olumide and her family, or late Mrs. Olawoye and her family, you know. Or, well, she's not late, Mrs. Laoye. I think it actually started with Mrs. Laoye because we used to walk to her home, you know, when I finished in school. So Mrs. Laoye, she's very much alive. She was just 89 recently, you know. So it was just that work ethic. They had an incredible work ethic. And for them, a good work ethic without balancing it with enough time for the family. They always had enough time for the family. The family was never, the family didn't suffer because they were working, because they were working women, they were working mothers.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
they knew how to balance it. And I guess even then society too helped them to balance it, because most of the women that I mentioned now were civil servants.
Okay.
And so they were home by 3, 4, they were home, you know, and so they had time to be with the family. They had time to plan the next day, you know, and if sometimes there was a lot of work for them to catch up on, they'd wake up very early, or wake up, you know, or do some work, you know, later when all the children were in bed, you know, probably catching up on administrative work that they had to do. I was used to seeing that as well, especially with late Chief Mrs. Olawe Atikofo. I was very used to seeing that with her. You know, so that, but you know, work, but not at the expense of your family. And I remember when I started my own family, it was one of the things that my mother was always cautioning me about, because I'd say, oh, I have to go to this rehearsal, and she'll say, you know, the time for those kind of things will come. These children are still too young for both of you to just leave at the same time. I remember once I had to go to England to do a job, and my husband was shooting in Asaba. He just took our son with him. He took surgery. They went on set together, So it wasn't a case of, take him to grandma, which we sometimes used to do. We'd take him to any of the grandmothers that was available. But also, come with me. We'll go together, and he's never forgotten it. He loved it. And I've done that before as well, when I'd had to all of a sudden have to go away. My husband was on set. I had to travel. Okay, mister, let's go. This was our younger son. Was what I said, well, come on, let's go. And we went together. So I think for me that was what they left indelibly for us. A good work ethic that balanced with family. And I think part of also was just that incredible sense of responsibility as well. You were not just for you. You were about and it wasn't that they sat you down to discuss it. It was the way they operated as well. If things were good for you, then you took on the other members of the family that things were not just as easy for, or that had some challenges. It was always that you had that. There was always that sense of responsibility.
Okay, now, because I've been wanting to ask this, why you and your husband are into the same profession, but I want to start with how did you start the whole acting? What's motivated you to go into it? Is this what you ever planned for right from your childhood that you go into?
No, I think like all children, I wanted to do 10,000 things. There was a time I wanted to be a nurse. There was a time I wanted to be a teacher. There was a time
different professions. You don't know which one.
There was a time I just wanted to do everything.
Okay.
I loved the nurses because of their uniforms. I remember that. I really liked the nursing uniform. Teachers, I don't know. I think there was a teacher I had a crush on at the time. And so the lady teacher, it was a lady teacher. I'll never forget her name, Mrs. Good. I just thought she was amazing. And I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And then, but all throughout, even, whilst growing up, performing was something I just loved to do. I loved to dance when my mother had guests, just dressing up and performing for them. And if my hobby tied my friends who came around at the time, I'll just dress them all up. Okay, we're performing, And I continued with that when I got into Holy Child. Luckily, Holy Child had a drama teacher at the time, Miss Shita.
Okay.
And I really adored her. I adored her voice and everything, so I wanted to be like her as well, and I just loved performing. But what was interesting at that time too was that I wanted to be a medical doctor like my mommy. And I was useless at the sciences. So anyway, cut a long story short, by the time I got into A-levels, my final year of A-levels, things kind of sorted out. I did the Lambda exams from grade 6, silver, grade 6, bronze, gold, silver. Grade 6, bronze, silver, gold. And by the time I'd finished as I was about to go into my gold medal exams, I prayed to the Lord, asking for his guidance on which way to go, and laying out what we Christians call a fleece, asking him that if this is where you want me to go, do this. If this is where you want, if it's not, then let this happen.
Okay.
And everything that I asked for was tick, 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 tick.
Wow.
So I knew this was the profession that he wanted me to go into. And like I mentioned earlier, when I then came back home, and my father was like, "Hey, acting, really? You sure?" Okay, take a year out. And work in this profession. And I think what he was hoping for was I'd be so frustrated I'd change my mind. But I was working all the time, going from radio to television to theater to this. I had fun and I was earning money.
That's the main.
So by towards the end of that stint, I met my husband. We were on the same project, and he said,
How did you meet your husband?
It was on the production of Jiro's Metamorphosis for Nigeria's 21st anniversary. That's where we met. And so he was one of the influences that kind of my father was very keen on me then going to train, and he was one of those that worked with us to get, first of all, somebody who would prepare me for auditions for drama school, and then getting into drama school and the choices of drama school that I should take, because he had a flourishing career in England anyway, so he knew the top 5 schools to apply to audition for and things. So that's how, and I never looked back.
Wow, you're still going to tell us more about how it's all happened, because I'm interested in it. All right, we'll go on a short break now. So when we return, we'll talk more about your career. First, the process, how you met your husband, because I'm more interested in that. So viewers, stay with us. We'll be back after this time out. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with. This is the final lap of the interview segment, and I've been having a nice time with Madam Ajoke Silva. No, Ajoke Silva. Most times I call Ajoke Silva, and I know most people call Ajoke Silva.
Yes, simply because there's Ajoke Silva, Ajoke Jacobs, JJ.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's
Ajoke
Silva. Yes. So everyone should get that now. It's Ajoke and not Ajoke Silva. All right, so let's come to you now. That you were making some explanation about how you met your husband. You met on set, on the job. Yes. So how did it happen exactly? I'm interested.
Wow. Okay. What happened then was that there was a production of Jiro's Metamorphosis. No, it was Jiro's Metamorphosis, but that was the same year as Nigeria's 21st anniversary, but it just before we did the production for Nigeria's 21st anniversary. And I'd been hearing, everybody was excited that this actor Olu Jacobs was coming from abroad to work on the project he was going. And I didn't know who Olu Jacobs was, but I mean everybody was excited. So I guess so so we were rehearsing one day, and the then artistic director at the National Theatre, Miss Edith Enem, was I was asked to go and call her to come and watch what we had rehearsed. We were rehearsing in the main hall of the National Theatre. And so I went to her office. I was wearing a long red boo-boo. I covered my rehearsal clothes with my a long red boo-boo that was bleached at the top, so it was kind of beige and cream with stripes. It was given to me by my aunt. And when I got there, knocked, I heard coming, opened the door, and the next thing I would hear, even before I said what I was going to say, was, "Oh wow, this is the woman I'm going to marry."
From where? Where did you hear that from?
This man. You know who the man was? And I just looked at the person and I thought...
Like jokingly, you just said it?
He just said it, and I looked him up and I thought, "Excuse me." And I just faced Miss Enem and I said, "Miss Enem, we're ready for you in the main bowl." So I left, only to get to rehearsals, and then Miss Enem came and introduced the man that had said, "This is the way Mr. Olu Jacobs has arrived." They said, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Okay, oh, really?" And I think he realized he got on, we became extremely good friends. And,
Okay. And one thing led to another.
5 years later, we got married.
Wow.
Yes, this was in 1981. We met in 1981, and we got married in 1985. November 16th, 1985.
Wow, that's interesting. I hear sometimes, a lot of times, that when both spouses, like husband and wife, are into the same profession, they thrive successfully, that things work out for them well. And I must say that yours is a good example of that, because I can imagine with husband and wife. Maybe I'll have to call my spouse to join me in this profession. Really. God. So how has the journey been so far?
What, 37 years now?
Wow.
That we've been married. And we've been together for over 40 years. We've known each other for over 40 years. The journey has been very interesting. I mean, now I've spent more time with my husband than I've done with my parents.
Yeah, sure, certainly.
Yes, and we've had our ups and downs. We've had incredibly beautiful times, and we've had some really terrible times. You know? Over the years, we've grown to understand each other better, trust each other better, have incredible respect for each other. I think it's always been, that has always been, you know, at the beginning, the respect that we both had for each other. That was always there, but the you know, trust and trusting that the other person wanted the best for you, that grew, you know, we grew into that. And the friendship has always been there, you know, that has always been there. So yes, it's been a very interesting journey, very, very interesting. Yes.
Okay, so I would like you to share with us moments, because I believe that there is no smooth ride of
no,
definitely. And when we look at marriages of today, we like say Gen Z, no, don't let me say Gen Z, not Gen Z now. That marriage we have,
they all seem to get such a bad rap. I'm wondering.
Yeah, the marriages that we have now is kind of different from what we used. No, I wasn't there. What your generation used to have there. So looking at your own marriage and what we have now, what do you think is missing, or what is not in place that ought to be? You said you've been married for 37 years. So what do you think is really missing? Because we see a lot of separation, divorces, someone get married today, 2 years, 1 year, they've gone their separate ways. What do you think is the issue exactly?
I think society does evolve. Societies evolve. And what marriages were like for my grandparents are totally different from the kind of marriage that I had. Very rarely at that time would they marry because this was somebody that they liked. It was more likely that the families knew each other and they felt that, oh, okay, this person would work for our child, you know. And so the fondness grew, you know, if both parties were responsible people, you know. And, you know, a lot of times in those days then, women were like wombs, you know, and then also in those days there was a lot of polygamy. Nowadays we do have a lot of serial monogamy.
Yeah.
Or people having affairs.
Yeah.
You know. So that you know, those are the things that I'm saying when you're saying society evolves, sometimes for the good, for the better, sometimes for the worse. I think a lot of young people are coming into marriages now and they're wondering, why do I have to carry so much responsibility? Why do I have to make so much sacrifices? How do I know how long I'm alive in this world for? Am I to carry that weight of responsibility, of sacrifice for how long? Do you understand? And so, because for them that is not, there's that sense that, well, there's always divorce. You know?
Like an option.
Yes, it's an option. I can always divorce. I don't have to. Even though nobody, would really canvass for nobody canvasses for an abusive marriage anytime. But I do think that there is a place where we need to realize that life really is a journey, and it's a journey that you live on your terms, Now, if you're living those lives the life on your own terms, now what does your own term say? What does your own term entail? Now, does your own term entail having a family that having a family that you journey together, all right? Or does your own term entail everything revolving around you? Because if everything revolves around you, then there is no place for responsibility or sacrifice.
Exactly.
If that is what you want, and it's a matter of choice. If that is what you want. But if what you want is a family that you journey through life together, and at some point you will exit and the rest of the family continues, then there has to be that place for sacrifice. There must be that place for responsibility. That's it.
Okay, I think I've picked one or two things. Yeah, I've picked a lot of things there. So now I want you to just share in just 30 seconds that thing you have learned so far in your own marriage that you would like to pass across to this present generation.
I think that's what I've just shared with you. I think it is a choice.
Okay.
You can't for a lot of people who always see divorce that, immediately they get married, there's a choice. I can get divorced. Yeah, I don't have to stay in an unhappy marriage and things like that. But have you given it enough time to even realize whether it's a happy marriage or an unhappy marriage? Do you understand? Have you given yourself enough time to understand the other person? Have you given that time? Of course, understanding a partner, like they say, marriage is one of those things you get a certificate. Those institutions you get a certificate for before you even start the journey.
Exactly.
And then you get into the journey, and do you believe that somebody who was raised totally different from you, that the two of you are going to, I keep, the way I always describe it is that this Barbara Catlin that a lot of girls we used to read as teenagers, it's when the dark handsome man marries the girl with the flowing hair. They get married, they fought, and then they finally get married, and then they go into the sunset. They forever, happily ever after. There's nothing like happily ever after. After the marriage, that's when the journey begins.
Yeah.
That's when the journey begins, and
now you get to know each other better.
You get to know each other better, and then things happen in life. How do you both react to it? Do you get stronger together? Two is better than one, and a threefold cord, where the Holy Spirit, is the third person in the marriage. Hey, it helps. It helps. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that marriage is not something to be taken lightly. It's not a wedding ceremony. It's not a wedding ceremony. It's a journey. It's a new season in anybody's life. The decision to do it shouldn't be taken lightly, and once it's taken, don't see divorce as an option. That it, unless of course it's an abusive marriage that you are not, of course, then immediately get out of it fast.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much for that. Yeah, you discovered your purpose early enough, and thereby you started chasing it till down. You're still acting. You're still, in fact, if you're still working, maybe like government or federal, you'd have retired now. Have you?
Yes, I mean, I'm way over the age of retirement.
You're way over the age. I should have, but you're still like bouncing and everything is still going smoothly. Yeah, I like that. Now you discovered your potential, your purpose early. So now, as a role model, a mentor who has seen a lot, and you have actually achieved a lot as well. How do you think women can also discover? Because even at this point, there are some women who are like 30 or over 30 and they've still not discovered their purpose. Like just moving from, we have so many people that are moving from one business to another. Oh, this is not forthcoming. Let me move to other businesses and all of that. How can a woman be focused and discover her strength exactly?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think people who move from job to job to job, they're doing that because they have options. If you didn't have an option, you stick to one job and make sure that you are earning money.
What if it's not paying well and you are running at loss?
So if the job is not paying well, of course you'd move. Of course you'd move. But also, there's the situation is, what do you enjoy doing? What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning outside of your family? That, oh, I need to get to work. I need to go do this. I need to, what excites you? Now, what excites you may not bring in a lot of money. And so you may need to do something else that, because whilst you're doing other things just to make sure that what excites you, someday that thing that excites you will bring money.
Bring money.
Yes, because you're doing it. Are you doing it to solve a problem? Are you doing it because it's like you feel that that's what you're wired to do? Yeah.
Okay, now, is it possible for a woman to like get it right in all spheres of life, like career, marriage, business, like get it right in all areas? How possible is that?
I think so. I think there are a lot of people. I don't know. I didn't ask you. Are you married?
Yeah.
Do you have kids? Are you not doing what you love?
Yes.
Is everything of exactly? Yes. So it's not just for a few. I think it works for a majority. There are a majority of people who are doing the job they love to do. They're doing the job that they enjoy. They have their family, and there's a career, there's a business, women, there are quite a lot of women who are flourishing and who are thriving.
The reason why I ask this question is because we have some women who say that, oh, if I'm married, I've achieved, I don't need to go into pursue my career, or I need to have my family, have my children. And there's some women on the other hand that'll say, oh, my career is paramount to me. I'm not interested in raising family for now. Let me focus. That's just why I asked the question.
But I think it's again, it goes back to choice.
True.
Yes, again, it goes back to choice. And nowadays, there are a lot of women who have, the way science is, there's that option of, freezing your eggs until you're ready and things like that. Science has made that possible. But I think one of the things that we don't take into consideration in that particular area is that there are times when you now decide that, okay, it's time to have children, and the kind of parents-teachers association that you're mixing with are probably, you're then seen as a grandparent, not a parent. But that shouldn't, it's just one of the things that you should realize, that you're going to have being parents-teachers associations with people much younger than yourself. That happens. But if you're fine with it, why not? I think it's a matter of choice. Do what works for you, I think.
And what makes you happy?
Because some people don't meet their significant other their most significant other, they don't meet that person early. Some do.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah.
Okay, now you are also a businesswoman.
Well, I'm not a businesswoman. I'm more of an artistic entrepreneur.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, yes, in the sense that as an artist, you know, I also produce, and when you produce, that's the business side of the art. When you produce, you produce plays for the theater, you produce work for film, TV, for radio, you know. So that's the kind of business side of the industry. And even that, I tend to even concentrate a lot more on the artistic side of production than I do on the business side. I have a team that works with me for the business side of production. Yes. So, and I mean, when I mean by produce, for instance, I can see a play. Like right now, there are about three works that my company Lufodo Productions is working on at the moment. One of them, the script has the script is in development. Another one, we're being asked to come on the project as producers. You know, that's the company to come on the project as producers. That's an international one. And then the third one is it's something that we're sorry, it's two of them actually. There's another one that we're on as producers and it's in post-production. Then there's another one that, you know, we're partnering with somebody who wants to work with our company to set up, you know, to have that particular kind of production. So yeah, so that's what I mean being. So I'm an actor,
not really a businesswoman like that.
Yes, I'm an actor, but I don't act all the time. Sometimes I produce work. Yeah.
So even if I should ask you now that, how many movies have you featured in? I know you lose count.
Not really, because I haven't. I really do, because
since you started acting.
Yes, since I've started acting. I mean, I won't say I can remember all of them, but unlike my younger colleagues who say, oh, they've done 300, nah. If I've done up to 100, I'll be very surprised, you know. Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, I tend to work on all platforms. So for instance, if I'm working on a TV series, all right, that's sometimes a TV series can take, you know, almost a year, 2 years, you know, if you're on a TV series. Then I also do stage. I do a lot of theater, you know. So when you're doing a lot of theater, there's no time for film. And then, you know, I do film as well, and I do radio. So I work across all the platforms.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So aside the acting on the radio, acting as well, or producing?
Yeah, acting.
Yes, so aside
called voice acting.
Okay, voice acting.
Yes,
so aside acting and the artistic aspect,
yes.
Do you do any other thing aside that?
I train. My company. We have 3 business units of the company.
Okay.
We have Lufodo Productions that produces, you know, across the various platforms. Then we have Lufodo Academy of Performing Arts, where we train artists, especially actors.
Okay.
We're about to go into writers as well, but we've for many years we focused on actors. And then of course we've now gotten what is we now manage the Glover Memorial Hall, the oldest theatre in Nigeria.
Okay.
Built in 1887, you know, and then rebuilt in 1962. We managed that. We started managing that in January 6th of this year. You know, so those are the 3 business units of our company, and then there's me, the brand, the actor. Yes.
All right, we'll be wrapping up soon, and I would like you to pass a message to women, especially watching us, how to be the woman of this time, woman of today. Like, what quality should a woman of today possess?
I don't know. How am I supposed to? I think I'm still even discovering what the woman of today should possess. You know,
Yes,
because
yes.
every day brings its own challenges and things like that. I mean, this is the age of technology, and what's, you know, the changes that technology is, you know, bringing into our lives is just so sometimes humongous. But I think there are some things that are tested and true, and it would be your faith. I think we cannot go through life without faith in God. Whatever you profess God to be. We as Christians say the three-word one God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. The Muslim says Allah through Muhammad, you know. And then there are other, whatever you profess God to be, but you cannot go through life without faith. I think it's part of what keeps you grounded, what keeps you, you know, helps to stabilize you. You know, in everything with the world will always constantly be changing. But if you have that, I think that would help anyone, man or woman, you know, to navigate. You know, to navigate, because and that's what your parents usually hand down to you anyway. Sometimes along the way, some of us change our religion.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Yes,
And,
I know that.
Yes. And so I think for me, first of all, that's very key. And then I think it's important. You know, we're coming into the political season.
Yeah.
And because things seem to be so hard for us here, although my argument is always that it's because we don't know how hard it is in other parts of the world. The challenges are different, but it is just as hard, simply because the entire world has been through an economic meltdown.
Yeah.
It has been through the pandemic, coming out of it, trying to navigate its way through it all. And then we have the political season coming upon us, and there seems to be what I feel is an impatience in the air, and we're not even prepared to hear each other talk. We're so ready to destroy friendships, to destroy. Why? Because of politics? I think that's insanity. I think it's, you know, we need to, it's in talking, it's in exchanging ideas that we'll be able to work out what is best for us.
For us as a nation.
As a nation, yes. So,
okay,
yeah.
This dropped in my mind right now. I would like to ask you as well, to the female especially, so girl child, female generally, who wants to go into acting, there is this perception of ladies who want to go into acting, you have to do this before you can be accepted into the industry. You have to, is it grease their bed or
they call it the casting couch.
Okay.
The casting couch.
There's even a language for that.
Yes, there's a language for it. The casting couch has existed.
So for ladies like that,
yes.
females especially, who loves acting, who loves performing just like you, what advice do you have for them?
It's not necessary. Even though sometimes people believe that they get so frustrated, that's the only way that can. It's not necessary, because there is no guarantee that after you have gone the casting couch route that you will get the job that you are couched for. There is no guarantee, so don't even bother.
So what's the advice for them?
So just walk away. Walk away.
Move to another.
Yeah, walk away. There will always be work, and we're getting into, you know, it's something that's myself and my colleagues were talking about today. One of the things we were discussing was that, you know, I had said it some years before to them, that there's going to be so much work for everybody. Everybody's just going to be like, oh, I need rest. I need to rest. There's just so much work. I can't, And that's what's happening because there's just so many platforms of distribution and all of them are screaming for content.
Okay.
And that's where we are. So, but what is key, what I think is very important is be trained there are 2 ways of getting training.
Okay.
There's informal training where you apprentice. You just make sure you keep working with probably established, let's say for instance now there's a company that's permanently producing plays, whether for screen or for stage. Attach yourself to that company and keep working. So that's the informal way of training. So and you find that when you do that in that informal way, you're probably going to do other things in the profession. Maybe you'll probably be a stage manager, production manager, actor, costumier, makeup. You just do various other things. That's the informal way. The formal way is to go train for 2 years, 3 years in an established institution, and get proper training. Because that training, what the proper institution allows you is that you can make your mistakes in a safe environment, And of course you will do several plays back to back to back to back to back, because it's in working that your skills are honed, So the training is important. You can't do it without training. When you don't have training, is sometimes because when there's no training, there's a lack of confidence of like, I don't really know this thing. I need the couch. You don't.
All right. Thank you.
It can, but I will underscore the fact that it can be frustrating. It can be a very frustrating journey.
Yeah.
But, however, just if you hang in there and don't overextend yourself. And then, like I said, there are just so many platforms now that there's a need. There's work. That was the fear before, that there wouldn't be enough work.
But now
there's so much.
So it's either you go through the formal or informal
training.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate every of our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, viewer, thank you so much. I hope you've learned a lot from our guests for today. And for those who are interested in going into acting, you've heard from our guests that you can either go through the formal way or informal way. Yes. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll take the quotes for today. Thereafter, we wrap up the show. Stay with us. All right, thank you so much for being a part of today's episode of the show. I hope you enjoyed every bit of the show today. So this is the much we can take on today's episode of Amazing Amazon. So till I come your way again next weekend, I remain your host, Tosin Adeyemi. Bye for now.